United News.
The Pokrovsk direction groans. Everywhere there is rumble, roar, and flames. The occupiers are crumbling. Our forces are working excellently. Rocket packages are a gift to the enemy from the armed forces of Ukraine. In response, the occupiers launch drones. They fall halfway. How do our defenders manage to maintain the pace and turn up the heat on the hottest section of the front? We will tell you about this in our report right now. You asked where we are shooting? It turns out to be a cannon, a Kamaz, and ammunition. Wow.
They can, if needed, cover an area of 8 to 9 hectares abundantly with a whole package. But currently, on the Pokrovsko-Mirnohrad section of the front, the crews of the BM-21 of the 38th Marine Brigade are firing, says Silva. More like snipers, with a few rockets per target.
The thing that we cannot stop right now is the enemy's artillery. These are cannons, mortars, in that sense, some self-propelled artillery.
Raider. Shock. You again, Russia. You again, Russia.
The panorama looks with one eye, following the sky.
Actually, he is a gunner in the crew of the Marines Grad. And recently, on his way to work and back, Borsuk travels exclusively with a package of rockets in his hands, firmly holding a carbine.
I ride on the package all the time, and at the same time watch the drones.
Then what? Did they hit or just scare?
Just scared.
That carbine is a decent means of protection, say the Marines, but it's only effective at minimal range. And there are plenty of enemy drones flying over Pokrovsk these days. They fly constantly. Now there are more, and now more FPV they have started reaching here. Previously they didn't reach, but now they do, and they keep reaching further.
The impact from them is even greater.
For reliable protection of both oneself and combat vehicles, a powerful electronic warfare station is very much needed. Joining and helping the warriors to raise funds for its purchase is, of course, a voluntary matter. But the Marines protect each of us, and they do so very effectively.
You see the target, the cannon's exit, next to it, a Kamaz unloading ammunition. So this is what... No, well, it would be great, of course, if it were a direct hit.
From the Pokrovsky-Mirnohrad section of the front in Donetsk region, Alexander Motorny, Alexander Sheehan, and Serhiy Shpotilo, Autosomastor, TSN, 1+1, Marathon United News.
In Crimea, there is real chaos. The peninsula is shaking from powerful strikes. Explosions are occurring one after another. Partisans are working with precision. They see the target, stop at nothing, and leave behind only smoke and panic. The Russians don't like it. They're whining. Could it be that they sense their imminent end? Hear this first.
These convoys transport enemy tanks, weapons, ammunition, and armored vehicles. In 11 years of occupation, they have not withstood, thanks to Ukrainian sabotage groups. One after another, explosions occur just before the arrival of ammunition near Jankoy and Sevastopol. All of this is documented by the partisan movement Atesh.
We have dealt another blow to the enemy's logistics, but we are not disclosing the details of the operation yet for the safety of our agents. Restoring movement will take time, which means Russian troops will once again face a shortage of ammunition on the front line. The partisan movement Atesh.
There are dozens of partisan movements on the occupied peninsula. Participants of one of them, called Combat Seagulls, say that people from various professions join them.
They go to universities or work in shops, in banks. We cannot be exposed because we do not stand out in any special way among all the country's residents.
Except for our Ukrainian stance and actions. They organize sabotage on railways, arson of Russian military equipment and soldiers' vehicles, and also...
We find and systematize information about public figures of the occupation regime. For us, it is critically important to track, expose, and relay to Ukraine the locations of potential military targets, the positioning of Russian ships, and infrastructure objects.
There is an increasing Ukrainian presence in Simferopol, Yalta, Yevpatoria, Sevastopol, and Jankoy. Fearless activists are placing yellow and blue ribbons on administrative buildings, tying them on fences, and the Ukrainian flag is flying in the mountains and being launched into the sky. This is very meticulous work, say the participants of another movement, the Yellow Ribbon. In it, there are over 10,000 people on the temporarily occupied territories, and the number of those willing to resist the Kremlin regime is growing.
The anonymity of each activist is a priority. We work not only in the physical space, but also online. We teach people how to do this safely, how to verify information, how to secure their devices, as well as the basic aspects of cyber hygiene.
And the fact that the Yellow Ribbon broke the combat seagulls, these partisan movements emerged at the beginning of the full-scale war, and they destroy the enemy from within. The occupiers hunt them down, just like everything Ukrainian.
Listening to Ukrainian songs. This is precisely considered as domestic extremism or discrediting the armed forces of the Russian Federation. There are already more than 1,200 administrative cases against such people. And we already have cases of criminal prosecution for so-called state treason.
The Russians also monitor the social networks of Crimeans.
The latest case was, for example, about a man who reposted an interview with the president of Ukraine during his trip to America. The occupiers tracked this, fined him, and brought him to administrative responsibility.
However, the resistance is only growing both in numbers and active actions, because each participant in the partisan movements knows and does not let the occupiers forget that Crimea is Ukraine. Elvina Saidbulaeva, Roman Grebelnikov, We Are Ukraine, Marathon.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism, and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine today. Join us now.
Fight News.
Darina Hutsakalo, everything is on fire. The Russians are running around and fussing. This is how our drone operators describe the results of the secret drone's work. It has undergone changes and now has returned to the front to continue to haunt the enemy. The occupiers fear this bird more than Russian generals. Heartstoppers. What is special about the Argus drone and what extremely complex tasks is it capable of performing? More on this in just a moment. Darina Hutsakalo, this will be the first flight of Argus.
Serhiy Mokhalov, everything here is assembled very easily. Just a couple of manipulations here and it's assembled. The pre-flight preparation also goes very quickly. You set it up, adjust the antenna correctly, check the wind parameters, and off you go.
Darina Hutsakalo. The modernized UAV has 4 engines that allow the drone to take off, and a maneuvering engine that activates Choki in the air.
Konstantin Yelchenko, this aircraft has already been in combat.
Andriy Terentiev. This one, no, it was in the previous modification. And they have already been in combat, performing quite well. We need to jam the heavy one.
Darina Hutsakalo. The military constantly communicates with the drone manufacturers and provides them with feedback for improvements, which they then modify.
Serhiy Mokhalov, so that during combat situations when we, let's say, expose ourselves to enemy strikes, we don't encounter any misunderstandings with the aircraft and everything goes smoothly.
Darina Hutsakalo. Before the drone takes to the sky, it needs to be balanced and checked to ensure everything is working.
Konstantin Yelchenko, but right now there's quite a strong wind. Does it interfere a lot?
Yevhen Sitnichenko. No, the wind is normal now, just what we need. There were times when we flew for the first time, there were times with winds of 18, we barely made it back.
Konstantin Yelchenko. How do you like this aircraft?
Serhiy Mokhalov. We've been working with it for over 2 years. We've flown into places where no one else could. Losses with it, as with this type of equipment, exist but are minimal. Therefore, it's a very productive, excellent aircraft.
Darina Hutsakalo. After completing its missions, the bird always returns home.
Konstantin Yelchenko-like job?
Serhiy Mokhalov. Yes, of course, because it might not be as dangerous as in the infantry, right? We are still positioned at a distance. But when you find a target and when you adjust, when it all then explodes, our enemies run around, scurry, and that's enjoyable. It's like a movie, but for real.
Konstantin Yelchenko. So, let's summarize. The wing has been checked, ready for combat operation. So, join the 429th Separate Drone Systems Regiment Achilles. Stay in touch.
Darina Hutsakalo. That's all from me for now. I was with you, Darina Hutsakalo. More hellish news from the front in our next release. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe and like. See you.